Hey, welcome back to Jamaicans.com. Welcome to the nutrition series with your host, Deborah. I'm so happy that you have joined us this evening. First, I just want to say thank you, huge thank you to Jamaicans.com for having me on this platform. It's a huge privilege, truly an honor to be here with you guys this evening. So this is our fourth week on Jamaicans.com, sharing this 8-week series. This week we are focusing, our topic is on heart disease and heart disease prevention. So I'm going to be going into some detail about that, not too much detail, but just enough to give you guys a great idea of how you can go about preventing heart disease, right? So let me just go ahead and introduce myself for those of you who are coming on, seeing me for the first time. My name is Deborah. I'm a nutritionist. I have a master's degree in nutrition. I'm also an educator. I teach nutrition education at a middle school to the young ones, which I think is awesome because you need to have the young ones establish good healthy habits early on. So I truly enjoy that role. I'm also a community health nutritionist here in the Bronx. So as you're coming in, guys, let me know where you're coming in from. And again, please share this with anyone who you think might need to hear this information. So I do food justice with this position that I have as a community health nutritionist. We focus a lot on food injustice in our community. Happy to have all of you who are coming in. Tamika, I see you. Great to have you guys. So once again, guys, this is our fourth week. We're doing heart disease this evening. We're going to be cooking. I am so excited about having you guys on tonight. So before I go too much into the topic for tonight, I do want to address a particular situation. So most of us know what's going on. Actually, if you don't know what's going on in the world right now, you might be living under a rock, right? Hello, Miss Pauline Grant. Good to have you from Ontario. I'm seeing a lot of familiar folks coming in. Yes, so what's been going on lately, as you guys heard about George Floyd, who recently got murdered in the streets, unfortunately by a police officer, something that is a growing issue here in the United States, and I'm sure other countries have their own issues as well. And so I want us to focus a little bit this evening. I'm going to spend a few minutes just to talk about some of the social issues that surround our food and our eating. And what I want to do is just share a little bit about my own personal experience. So as a Black woman living in America, I'm from Jamaica, so I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I actually did not have any experience at all with racism living in Jamaica. I'll be honest with you. Number one, I was a kid, and then once I migrated here into the States, that was where I first experienced all of these issues. That was such a foreign thing for me to experience because we grew up in Jamaica. You Jamaicans who are on here, you guys know it's usually a lot of love. We love each other, and I'm not saying that we don't have issues in Jamaica, but here it was such a huge difference for me to come here and to experience the racism that I did in different scenarios. And you know, it's a systemic problem. It's a real issue that we have here in the United States. And so we have not only the issue with the police brutality and with you know, this growing problem with the police, unfortunately, you know, taking out our Black men and women, but we have it in regards to, let's say, our income level. So there's this thing called social determinants of health, and I want you guys to be familiar with this term and what it means. So social determinants of health has to do with the factors that play a role in your health, right? So it's not only are you gonna have health issues because you maybe have a bad diet, you're gonna have these health issues a lot of times, unfortunately, and I'm gonna say something that it's gonna sound strong, because of your color. Okay, so because of our color, a lot of times we experience a lot of disparities. So when it comes to education, I shared an article earlier on my page on My Temple Wellness. If you're not familiar, that's the name of the company that I founded, related to the body, keeping the body, the temple well. And so when it comes to education, we have an issue with that in our community. We don't have great access to education. Therefore, our income levels are low, right? So we don't have proper income. And then what's the result of that? We don't have proper health insurance, in conjunction with the fact that when we do go to the doctor's office, a lot of times we're not being treated fairly. We are rushed out, okay? When we ask the question, sometimes we're looked at as if maybe we're a little bit crazy for asking questions. But I want to encourage you guys, ask questions. Ask questions. Do not leave the doctor's office until you have your questions answered, okay? And also, some of the other factors that play a role in our health concern has to do with where we live. So a lot of African Americans are living in what's called, and not just African Americans, but Latinos as well, black and brown people. We're living in areas that are called food deserts. Now, I don't know if you've heard that word, but I want to introduce you to that word if you haven't heard of it, food desert. So what that basically is a community that's filled with, let's say, tons of fast food restaurants, right? So if you need Popeyes, KFC, Burger King, McDonald's, and let's not leave out the liquor store, right? That's what's in our neighborhoods. Those are the type of things that's causing the health issues in our neighborhoods. We don't generally have access to supermarkets. A lot of times the same population, because of our income levels, we don't have a car, so we can't drive to go get groceries, right? Even in this community that I live in, not too far from here, a person called me today and was letting me know about a situation where, because of all the looting that's been going on with Target, evidently Target have closed their location, right? Quite a few of their locations, and in this particular neighborhood where people need to access Target, because this Target happens to have a supermarket inside, so they're selling foods and fruits and vegetables and so forth. Now they don't have access to get to that anymore. There is another supermarket, but again, this is a community that also has to get prescriptions from this pharmacy that's inside Target. So a lot of these issues that we're facing in our health is not just related to the foods we're eating. Now, I'm a nutritionist, so I'm always going to be pressing you on what you should be eating and that you should be exercising, but it would be very unfair for me to come out here and not tell you about the other factors that are playing a role in your health, and I want you to be aware of them. And so you have to understand that a lot of times when you're having these challenges, right, it's because of this racism that plagues us. And I'm pretty upset about it, because it's something that's existed for such a long time, and they've always known about this problem. This existed pre-COVID-19, so we're still dealing with coronavirus right now, right? And we're seeing the impact of that with the folks who are passing away from COVID-19. Really passing away from COVID-19, but they're really passing away from heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, some of the top 3 chronic diseases that plague our community, right? So I want us to be educated, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for Jamaicans.com having me out here to talk to you guys. And it's one of the first order of business that I wanted to take care of, was to educate my people. Now, I love everybody, no discrimination against no one. However, because we are the ones that have been struggling. Now, if you think about slavery, right, they brought us over. I'm sorry, guys, let me just get this out. We're going to get into the heart disease stuff in a minute, and it's not going to be too long, because it's pretty straightforward, that part. But they took us from Africa, brought us here, right? And then we have been displaced. And when you get displaced, you're dealing with stress. You're dealing with a whole new culture have to get acclimated to, the weather. The other day I was watching this funny show, Cool Runnings. It's a Jamaican show with the bobsled team. And the guys, when they got to the airport, good evening, Sophia. Great to have you guys. Michelle. It's like a culture shock, right? You get out, you have to deal with, and that's what happened to me when I got here. Okay, I came outside. I didn't have the proper clothing on. I had to get adjusted, right? So we have to get adjusted to this this climate that is here in the United States, and so it's very difficult to be transplanted from your own homeland, right? So now I'm speaking specifically not just about the fact that we were uprooted because of slavery, but a lot of us are immigrants in this country. Now, if you grew up in Jamaica and you're living in Jamaica, you still have this issue, but Jamaica has more land. You can plant, you can grow. I'm from a farm, so we had land. We grew our own produce and we were able to eat and enjoy that. But here, if you're in the States, like I live in the Bronx. No, Bronx is number 62, which is the last when it comes to health, right? Every year they've been coming in last when it comes to health. This is the area also where people have died the most from COVID-19. So we have a real systemic problem, guys, and that's one of the things I wanted to highlight to you guys. I also want to read something for you guys from one of the doctors that I follow, that posted something on social media, so you understand that they are very much aware of what's going on. Okay, so racism is not just cops shooting down people like our brother George Floyd, right? It's not just, thank you, it's not just with all that stuff that's happening in our community with our black brothers and sisters, but we have a systemic issue when it comes to healthcare. And so getting the education that you need to take care of yourself is going to be very important, because at the end of the day, we got to wait for these policies to get changed, right? Because that's really the end of that's really the crux of the problem. We have a lot of policies that exist that was created by a lot of white men, okay? We're not in the room. We're not a part of the conversation. So we need to get into the conversation. How do you get into the conversation? You become healthcare workers, right? So like myself, I'll speak about my own personal situation. I'm a nutritionist. There's not a lot of African American nutritionists that exist. There's just not a lot of us. Dietitians, forget it. There's even this young lady who created this system to try and help educate to get more black women to get into the field, because we have to educate our people. We have to get this information out to our people. They're not telling us, they're not helping us, they're not telling us the things we need to know, right? And I'm a little fired up, guys, because this is really near and dear to my heart, and I really care about you guys. I care about my family. I care about, you guys are my family, right? And especially those of you who've been coming on every week. I see y'all. I love y'all. Pauline, Grant, you guys are amazing. But I want to share this with you guys, and then we're going to get into the heart prevention stuff. But I had to address it, right? This is something that's going on right now. So it really would be, I'd be remiss to come in here and not talk about this part that plays a role in our health. So now, let me tell you briefly about this doctor before I read his post. So the name of this doctor is Dr. Mark Hyman. If you watch Red Table Talk, which is with Jada Pinkett, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's on Facebook. And they have a show. And this was actually the doctor that came on and spoke to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett about their health. So he's a pretty good doctor. I'll also say he's a white man. All right. So let me tell you what he wrote. Let me read this out to you guys. So this is a post. Bear with me. It's going to take me just a couple of seconds to get through it. So let me just read it. So Dr. Mark Hyman posted 2 days ago on his Instagram. So he says, as a doctor, I took an oath to do no harm. There is harm being done to millions, and I must speak out. There are terrible acts of racism that are happening in our society, some visible and some invisible. Inequities in income and opportunity, brutal violence, and discrimination of the police. In my profession, I see unmistakable facts, I'm repeating that, people of color face a higher rate of chronic disease, including diabetes, obesity, stroke, heart disease, and certain cancers than whites, right? So we're facing these issues more than whites. Black people, catch this, Black people have 77% higher risk of diabetes. Okay, 77% higher risk of diabetes. The food industry specifically targets, that's the part I want you guys to hear. The food industry specifically targets the poor and minorities. You guys heard that, right? This is the doctor that I just told you about. Famous doctor, white man. The food industry specifically targets the poor and minorities. I know that I can't change everything. I stand today heartbroken over disparities that we see day to day in this country. But I know what I can do. But I know that I can do my part to address systemic racism. I want to listen and learn. I am here to help. We have to do better on all levels. We cannot remain silent about these issues any longer, from brutality to our education system, to workers' rights, to our food system. We have to make a change today to give everyone hope for tomorrow. So that is, once again, guys, hey Karine, good to have you. a post from a doctor who is basically calling out this problem. And I'm so grateful for people like that. And there are quite a few doctors out there right now that are actually working very hard to get information out, because every time some information comes out, they block it. As a nutritionist, I'm faced with a lot of people who challenge the information that I speak on. You want to know why? Because I'm talking about plants. If I wasn't talking about plants, if I was telling you guys to eat red meat, if I was telling you guys to go keep drinking your milk so you could build strong bones, right? And not tell you could actually get calcium from kale, way more calcium from kale than you do cow's milk, right? If I was telling you guys that, they would leave me alone. People would leave me alone. They wouldn't harass me. They wouldn't stress me out. But because I'm coming to you and I'm telling you this very important information about plants, okay? Now, these studies have been done years ago. It's even the doctors, that same doctor I'm mentioning to you guys. A lot of these doctors, specifically this one doctor called Dr. Colin Campbell. I'm going to share all this with you guys at the end, right? So you can check them out for yourself. He did a study called the China study. And in this China study, he covered, if you can get that book. Now, for a lot of people, it's a long read. As a nutritionist, it's something that I kind of had to read because it's important for my profession to know this information. It's really cool also to see all the research that's been done by this man. But he went to the Philippines to figure out what was going on, raised on a farm, and discovered the effects of plants. And when he tried to share the information, when he tried to get the information out there, he had to like tread lightly, basically, for lack of a better word. He had to tread lightly because he knew what he was going to be facing, right? It was going to be a challenge for him to convince people of these facts. Now, all these plant-based doctors that I follow and that I tune into and try to stay abreast with, they're giving out very valuable information, but there is a lot of blockage. There's a lot of people who are stopping the information from coming out there because they don't want people to get well. A lot of doctors, I'm not here to go against doctors, but I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to ask you, and I want you to actually let me know what you think about this. I'm going to ask the question to everybody who's on here right now. Please put in a number. So how many hours let's say how many hours of nutrition education do you think your doctor gets? Now, please answer me if you're on. I see Daniel on. Welcome. Good to see you. Yvonne Smith. I want all of you guys to answer. I'm going to wait for you to start answering. I need a couple of answers here. Let me know how many of you have heard how much hours of nutrition education did your doctor get? You guys know? Okay, 0 hours. Pauline, they get a few hours. Yes, 5 hours. Okay, from Mauve, 0 from Yvonne. Anybody else? Anybody else? So, okay. So, guys, also when you're coming in, let me know where you're watching from. I like to big you up after, let you know where you're coming from. All right, so you guys are right. It seems like you guys already know that information. So most doctors, 6 hours. That's close, Danielle. 0 hours, Tamika. Yeah, so I think that a lot of these doctors, right, they don't have enough nutrition education, right? And so when they're informing you of certain things, they're not thinking about the nutrition factor. Okay, so one thing that I'm going to leave you guys with, Mom from Atlanta, great to have you, Kay from Maryland. One of the things that you have to do when you get to your doctor's office, if you have health concerns or if you're just not feeling well and they can't figure out what it is, ask them to run a nutrition panel on you, okay? And when they run a nutrition panel, you're going to get information pertaining to like your B12 or your vitamin D and all these other things that they're just not thinking about, because a lot of times their focus is medical drugs, right? So their focus is to give you medicine, right? They went to medical school for a reason, to treat you with drugs. They weren't taught to teach you with to treat you rather with food. So that's what a nutritionist's job is, more about talking to you guys about the foods that you're eating, because foods heal the body. All right, so I really wanted to, I know I kind of took some time to go in on this whole systemic racism that affect our food system, and also sharing with you what the doctor said and how he's trying to help. But we have to do our part, because it always starts with the man in the mirror. It always starts with us. And so for us to wait for the policies to be changed, for us to wait for our governments to do something, that's going to take some time, right? Might not happen in our lifetime, right? So we need to, for now, focus on us, focus on you, your family members, get the education you need, because that's what's going to actually help you. The systemic issue that existed with racism when it comes to health has existed for a very long time. I'm hopeful that it's going to change in the very near future, especially now with what's happening with George Floyd, and I love the reaction from everybody going around. It's really awesome, because that's what we need. We need uprising almost. We need justice. We need justice in all these areas. Okay? So guys, when it comes to what you're eating, when it comes to your health, you have to take control of it. And that's why I'm here, because I'm trying to get you to get to that space where you can independently, focus on your health. Don't leave it in the doctor's hands, because if it's up to him, I had a health issue once, and I remember I had the first doctor telling me something drastic to do. I'm not going to get into all of that, but very drastic. And I said, wow, that's going to be really life-changing for me to do that. And then I went for a second opinion, and I was a little bit more probing. And in the end, I was able to save myself and my body part. Okay? I'm not gonna give too much details with that, but guys, seriously, you have to get second opinions. You have to try to see if you can help with whichever elected official that you're choosing in your area, local areas, that those people are considering the zoning of these fast food chains, of these liquor stores that are bouncing up in your neighborhood. If you go in a lot of these neighborhoods where you have affluence, where you have a lot of Caucasian people, you're not seeing liquor stores, fried chicken place, Kennedy's Chicken. What's another one? There's so many of these restaurants that are just selling foods that are bad for health. We have to put ourselves on the right side of this thing, and we have to take the steps that we need to take, because this racism thing, when it comes to our food, it's been going on for a long time. So it's high time you guys know about it. Understand that everything related to your health, it's not just about the food you're eating, but also based on what the government is allowing to happen. All right, McDonald's, yeah, all of those are factors, right? All right, so let's get into the heart. All right, thank you for listening to me. I had to get that out. All right, and hopefully the information I just gave you guys is useful, and you can sort of do something with that, right? Yeah, Chinese restaurants too, located in the white neighborhoods. Yeah, it's so many different things, and oils and all of that stuff plays a role into your health and into the heart, right? So this is a heart model. Let's get into the lesson for this evening, because we have to get cooking. So I'm gonna have to make this really quick, because we have the food ready, and we're gonna get into the cooking in a minute. All right, so this is a heart model, right? And I got this heart model when I was in school, because we had to memorize all the parts and everything. So I figured I'd come and show it to you guys. So this is the pump, right? That sits most predominantly on the left side. Remember last week I told you guys to make sure you check your blood pressure on the left arm, and up here it's because the heart sits on that side. So if you were to make a fist, guys, make a fist right now, man and woman, that is about the size of your heart. Now this is a sample of trying to reconnect. Okay, I don't know what just happened. Yes, so this is the heart, right? And this is basically the centerpiece of your body, right? This is what allows the blood to circulate all around your body. Now, the long and short of when it comes to heart disease, what basically is heart disease, right? Heart disease is when you have a lot of plaque buildup, and there's different forms. So you got like stroke, you have coronary artery disease, cardiovascular. All of those are different types of heart disease. But the long and short of what happens to the body is basically you have arteries that are clogged. Now, I did a little drawing for you guys because I like visual aids, and I figure I would show you guys some visual aids as well, because that's what helps me. So my drawing is not perfect. Don't make fun of me. I did my best. So here's a diagram. You probably won't see me for a second. You're just going to be looking at the diagram. First, we're going to look at this one here on this side right here. All right, so this is a healthy artery. Hopefully you can see it. Give me a thumbs up if you can see clearly. So you have a healthy artery right here. So this is the artery, basically. The blood is flowing nicely through the artery, right? And this is what you want. You want the blood to be flowing nicely through the body, through all your arteries, pumping nice and strong with that heart that I just showed you, okay? Now, with this, you get oxygen is flowing to the brain. You're healthy, you're good. You have a little bit of the green represents like a little bit of plaque, right? And that's generally okay, because over time, this is going to happen. You're going to have a little bit of plaque, right here and there. Then you have this one in the middle here, which is a partially blocked artery. And so this is over time, and eating the wrong foods as well can get you this sort of, this is plaque. I didn't have yellow, which really would be the plaque, but I used green. So what's happening here is a narrowing of the arteries, right? It's narrowing. As you can see, less blood cells. These are red blood cells going through. Less red blood cells able to pass through, right? And so that's what's happening here. Again, related to our diet, cholesterol, and all of that. And then you get to this section here, which is really the phase that, both of these phases are pretty dangerous. And both can happen at any stage in life, right? But generally older as you age. Okay, so when you get to this stage, you really have what's called like a blocked artery, and that's really what causes these heart conditions, right? And so that's when you see the blood coming down, and basically it's blocked, okay? Nowhere to go. That's when you generally have stents put in. If you have to have a stent put in, which has to be maintained, a lot of times they cause issues, right? About 5% of people run into issues with their stents. Or you may have to have a bypass, depending on how bad it is. All right, and then on this side here, I wanted to show you, so the body is pretty incredible. It's actually able to do what's called collateral circulation. So the blood can get rerouted, redirected, if there is some type of clogged situation going on. The body has the potential to do that. Isn't it incredible? So it reroutes. Think of it like a river, all right? So you're going down the river, rocks are building up. Eventually, maybe the water will actually flow somewhere else. That's what's happening here in the body, right? So the blood is flowing some other way, right? Collateral circulation. The blood is going in a different direction. So the body can actually do that. The body has the potential to do that. Obviously, if you have too much of this going on in the body, you're going to end up with heart attack, stroke, all those issues, right? And so this is what we want to avoid. The plaque, again, for those who are just coming on, this is plaque buildup, and we're having a lot of this, blood just can't get through, and that's when the stent goes in and all of that. All right, so guys, what do you need to do? You need to exercise in order to prevent this from happening. You need to eat healthy, and I'm going to show you the foods in just one second. Reduce your stress level, okay? Huge, especially now, we're all stressed out. You need to avoid smoking, okay? That is huge. And also, avoid becoming overweight, all right, or obese. And that's something that we've been talking about and we'll continue to talk about. And then you want to avoid getting these chronic diseases. So high blood pressure, we talked about that last week. If you guys want to go back and reference that video, right? We talked about high blood pressure. We talked about diabetes already as well. So those are two risk factors. And then the main one is cholesterol, all right? The main one is cholesterol. I hope you guys like my diagrams. I'm not an artist, but you know, I gotta try. Yes, so those are the things that you have to think about. High cholesterol is one of the main things that we are dealing with, and it's from our foods. So now what I want to share with you guys are, so if you think about cholesterol, right, you're getting it, you're finding a lot of that stuff, that plaque buildup in fats, right? And a lot of those fats is what's causing this blockage in your artery. So unsaturated, saturated fat is really the culprit, right? The culprit for that. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. So now let me show you the foods, and then we're gonna get right into the cooking, because I know you guys love that portion too. So obviously, lots of plants, lots of fruits. So fruits and vegetables, right? So here we have one, and one of the things I tell my students, I tell them that we talk about color. And so I always say, eat the red fruits for the heart, right? And the red has to do with blood. So pomegranate is a good one. I'm not sure how you guys say that. Great diagram, thanks. pomegranate or pomegranate. Everybody say it different, but this fruit right here. So you see this one. This is great for the heart. All right. Then actually apples, any color apple. That's a really good source of antioxidant also found in that. A good healthy fat. So we're talking about the fat that causes the issue. This is not one of them. So avocado is a really excellent source that's going to help you as well. Cinnamon, right? So I have the powdered one here, but if you can get the sticks, you can use that. Make tea, boil tea with that. My mother-in-law, that's her thing. She'll boil some cinnamon and drink that tea, and she turned me on to that actually some years ago. But yeah, ground cinnamon, you can just dash it in your tea, and that's great for the heart. So cinnamon, a good one. Another good tea option is green tea. Green tea, high antioxidant, excellent, right? So this is a great option for you if you're thinking of what teas to have. Green tea is a really good option. I already mentioned the red foods. So this is what's going to help to get that blood pumping nicely through the veins. Now beets, very good, one of my favorite. I roast these, and I almost did that for tonight's show, but I was like, let me do something different. So you can roast your beets with some carrots. You can also juice it, which is what I love to do. I love to juice it. I have a recipe. You guys can go check it out. It's on my YouTube channel, and also on my Instagram, which is My Temple Wellness. And again, guys, as you're here, share this with everybody. If anyone you think need to be on here, let them know so they can come on. But yeah, beets is excellent. You can use beets in salads, eat it raw. I wouldn't cook it too long. If you don't like it raw, I wouldn't cook it too long because I think it cooks out some of the nutrients. But beets, a really good source that's going to help with the blood, right? And that's good with iron. Turmeric, you guys know about turmeric, is also very, very good. Flaxseed is also very good, and you can use flaxseed. I have all these things in my house, in my cupboard. Flaxseed is great, like throwing over some salad or something like that. And then you can use it in your oatmeal. All right, so when you think about oatmeal, right, you want to use for your breakfast, for example. That's one of the healthiest breakfasts you can have is oatmeal. Now let me talk to all the people that were like, drink condensed milk. Guys, condensed milk is so bad for you. Turn on the back. For those of you who are going to be here next week, I want you, if you have condensed milk in your house, bring condensed milk, because we're going to look at that label together, okay? You don't want to see what's in that, how much sugar is in that condensed milk, right? So make your oatmeal with a little bit of brown sugar if you must, and sweeten with like an almond milk, right? And if you really want to sweeten your porridge without sugar, let me tell you a trick. What you want to do is get some dates, the pitted dates. Take the pit out of the date and then blend it, puree it with your milk, and then that is sweet. Like 4 or 5 dates, you put that in the blender and you mix that up together and you pour that in your porridge. And that's a really good way of sweetening it, because remember, the dates is natural, right? It's not processed like the sugar. So that's a really good option for you that you should try. Let's move on because I got to get to the cooking portion. So walnuts, this is super good, guys. So raisins aren't bad. You could add that to it, but the flavor of raisins, Daniel just asked a question regarding raisins. You can add it to your cereal, but I don't know that it's going to necessarily give it such a sweet taste as the dates, right? The dates are usually much larger and they're sweeter. That's what I use when I make almond milk. That's what I use to sweeten it. All right, so I wanted to give you guys that tip. The raisins I will just sprinkle on. I'm not sure that that's going to give it a lot of sweetness. All right, so for snack, guys, and next week we'll talk about snacks some more, but just for today, as we're talking about the heart, walnuts, really, really, really great. Not only is it good for the heart and the blood, but it's very good for the brain, right? And especially for the kids. And I gave a tip about this already when it comes to the kids. If you want to caramelize it with a little bit of sugar, that's good. If you're trying to get your kids to get their brain activity going a little bit, right? And then because everybody loves chocolate, especially women, we love chocolate. If you're gonna eat chocolate, and some people say it tastes bitter, get the dark chocolate. This is the one I have. I've been working on this pack for about 2 weeks now. I'm somewhere around here. So I just take a little piece. Sometimes after dinner, I'll take a small little piece and I'll have it. Dark chocolate is the option if you wanted something kind of sweet. All right, so I think I covered the plants, the vegetables, and the fruits and stuff like that that you guys should have. And I'm trying to think, just give me a second, I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, so the only other thing that I wanted to share with you guys, beyond these great food options that you can do, I think I already mentioned all the things you can do, which was to exercise. Yeah, I did already cover that. So for those of you who just came on, definitely rewatch. It's always going to be posted on Jamaicans.com so you can see it. So guys, last thing before we get to the food, I wanted to share with you a study that was done in Japan. So a lot of folks who live in Japan don't have the same issues that we have in this country and even worldwide. So they did a survey, or scientific research rather, with Japanese men who actually migrated and lived in Hawaii and started having a Western diet. So for those of us who live on this side of the planet, we're enjoying what's called the Western diet, right? And so those men actually develop heart disease over time from living in Hawaii, which is considered America, right? It's one of the states. So when they compared the Japanese men with the Japanese men who live in Japan, they saw that the men who were living in Japan were still very healthy. They were the same age, because a lot of times people think that, you know, that's not the issue, right? But the issue is really like the food, the diet, the stress we have here, all the things that and I mentioned in the beginning about the systemic racism stuff. So you could go back and watch that for those of you who just came on. But you have to recognize that when it comes to your diet and all of that, this Western culture is playing a role in you getting ill. All right. And it's not to say that you should move to Japan or anything. It's just to say the comparison, right? Anytime a person switches to this type of diet, that's what happens. All right. So we need to eliminate a lot of these processed foods. We need to eliminate the sugary stuff, all that stuff, and focus on a plant-based diet. It's what's going to really make the difference in your bloodstream. It's what's going to make a difference in this beautiful organ that you're trying to preserve, right? Because it's about 3 billion beats on average. Each person gets about 3 billion beats. Not that that's the only amount, but they average it out and they figure this thing beats about 3 billion times over a person's lifetime. So we have to treasure this. And we saw the diagram that I drew with the blood flow, right? So we want to keep the blood flowing nicely. And those foods I mentioned, it's going to help your blood flow to run nicely and to reduce the amount of plaque that builds up in your arteries. All right? So we don't have any heart disease concerns in you or your loved ones. All right, guys? So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, say hi to a few of you who came on. And I have everything already prepared. So tonight we are going to make, what are we doing on Mondays? You guys remember Meatless Mondays, right? I hope you guys are following Meatless Mondays and doing, who on here has been doing Meatless Monday? Have you been jumping off my show and then cooking a big pot of curry goat, or what have you guys been doing? Have you been doing your Meatless Mondays? I'm waiting to hear from you guys. Have you been doing? I'm waiting. Somebody needs to answer me if they've been doing Meatless Mondays. All right, so guys, before we get to Danielle, she's smiling. I take it you're not doing it, Danielle. Is that why you gave me teats? You haven't, Tamika? Come on, girl. Let's get this thing going. My first time, but I will. Okay, yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting I always think it's the same folks coming on, but there's a lot of new people as well as some of the old people, not old people as in old people, but you know what I mean, people coming on for the first time. Yeah, so please join us, Jackie. I see you, Jackie Clark. Yes, join us. Gwendolyn, I go meatless for a few days per week. I think that's phenomenal. You had goat yesterday, Yvonne? I mean, it's okay. Yesterday was Sunday, right? Anthony says sorry. It's okay. Listen, if you don't do it on Mondays, try it on another day. Ali from Maryland, good to have you. Let's see who else is on here. Grace Ann, hey girl, good to have you. Kay Scott. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. All right, so without further ado, let me check my clock. We have 20 minutes to make this food, so we gotta hurry up. So I gotta go from talking to you guys. I love you. I'm gonna answer all your questions. If you want to post them, I'll get to them after. But I'm going to turn on this stove. I already prepped everything. So we are making a pasta dish tonight. I have my assistant here, who's my cameraman, who's also my husband. Fish. How about fish? Janet says. Yeah, fish is actually not bad. You can have fish. When it comes to heart disease, they say fatty fish is better. So like salmon. Now, I'm a plant-based nutritionist, so I'm always going to say try to focus on the plants. But if you must, have a small piece of fish. Nothing wrong with that. And I'll share this last piece with you guys before we go. So when you think about the amount that you're supposed to have when it comes to portion control, right, that's what you have to keep in mind. So this is the amount of protein that you should be having. And it's about like the palm of your hand, right, is the amount of protein that you should be having. Majority of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. Okay, so half your plates, right, and I'm not saying get one of those big plate, right, get a standard 9-inch or so plate, and half your plate should be fruits and vegetables. All right, and then your grains. All right, so we're gonna do some grains this evening. We have protein, we have fruit. Actually, no, we don't have any fruit. Well, tomato is considered a fruit, so we have a fruit, right? And then we have vegetables. So this is going to be a veggie pasta that we're going to do tonight. Like I said, I already prepped everything. I went ahead and I cooked the mushrooms. So mushrooms going to be a part of it. So let's get started, guys. We're going to get right into the cooking. So come on over here. Let me get all of this paper from off my stuff. Whoop. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll shout out everybody else who come on after. Egg. No, egg is not included in a plant-based diet because that's from a chicken, right? So that wouldn't be a plant-based option. And there's a lot of controversies around egg, which if you guys want me to address that, I will. And I'm actually scheduled to be presenting an article to Jamaicans.com, so I'll probably try and address some of your guys' questions that you're asking that I'm not doing on the live. I'll try to focus in on in the articles. All right. So now let me show you guys what I have here. If you could come on down a little bit closer. Let's make sure everybody can see. So just a little bit closer. So we have some onion here, all right, and we have some pepper. So this is going to be like the base of what we're preparing, and some garlic. Okay, so we got our garlic, we've got our onion here, and I like to use two different types of onion when I'm cooking. And then we have our peppers here. These are just bell peppers, red, green, and orange. Okay, and then we have some kale, just a small bit of kale. We have some sun-dried tomatoes, and I left one large on purpose so you can see. It's just a tomato dried out. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And I just chopped them up really small. All right, you can see small. And then I have just a little bit of olives. Now, guys, you're probably like, what's that? Especially on Jamaicans.com. I should be cooking Jamaican food. Listen, guys, let me just turn the camera real quick for me, please. Let me tell you guys something. I have to introduce you guys to some different things. You all probably, most of you know how to cook Jamaican food already. So I'm not going to come on here and teach you how to cook Jamaican food because you already don't know how to do that, right? So I'm teaching you some different options. This is an Italian kind of style that we're doing tonight. And I'm doing that on purpose. I want to introduce different foods because if you eat a variety of foods, you're going to actually get to heal your bodies in all these different ways, all right? There's vitamins and minerals in all these different foods. So that's why we're doing this, all right? I'm not trying to take you too far from your culture. But in a way I am at some point, right? Because you have to mix things up a little bit. So we have the olives. Sorry, come back. Sorry about that. So we have a little bit of olives, right? And now you can just get it. Don't get the canned one. Please don't get the canned one. Regular olives. And then this is my mushroom that I already cooked. Okay? And I did that because I don't like to cook my mushroom with these other things that I have here. All right, so let's get over to the pan real quick. And we're going to start. Uh-oh. I had all these other things. So as you guys can see, I have a small kitchen, but we're gonna work with it. I have to put all these things, remove these things out of the way. Okay. All right, so which direction do you want me to go in? All right, we're gonna put the pasta. That's the first thing we're gonna do. So guys, the pasta that I have this evening, so when you're gonna have your grains, right? You want to make sure you do whole grain, all right? So or whole wheat. So this is a whole wheat pasta that I'm using, penne pasta, All right, and so this is what I'm using this evening. Okay, so I'm gonna probably use about, you know, I don't like to measure too much, but about 2 cups or so. So if you can turn it somehow, I don't know if you can get it to come down. Can you? You can see the pot?
Yeah.
All right. So we're just gonna put some pasta in there. The water already boiled from earlier. All right, not too much. Just turn that down. All right, guys. So I'm just freestyling. You know, I usually don't cook with a camera. So just bear with me. So that's the pastas on the stove. I'm gonna turn that up to about 5, and I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in there. Okay, so I have this little small container. Usually 2 of these is like a teaspoon, right? So I'm just putting 2 of those, little teaspoon worth of salt. All right, now we're going to cook the onions and the garlic. Okay, now guys, I'm gonna use some avocado oil for this. And avocado oil is actually a good option for you. And when it comes to heart, guys, you don't want to use too much oil. Specifically, if you have a heart condition, I would recommend no oil, okay? But this is for people who don't have any heart conditions or heart issue. If you do, use small amount of oil, and the oil you use is also very important. All right, so you got to get away from a lot of those oils, those vegetable oils and canola oils. You got to get away from all of those oils because they're not healthy. All right, I hope you can see. Maybe bring it down just a little bit. And garlic, guys, garlic is really, really good for you when it comes to dilating the arteries. Garlic is like one of the great options for that. All right, so we're just putting in our garlic and in our onions. And we're gonna cook that for a few minutes. Get them just a little bit brown. Okay, so while that's going on, you guys know, is that in the back? I'm sorry if I'm boiled that, but I hope we don't go over. So you guys know I like my peppers, right? Shishudu peppers. These I'm going to put on in this pan here. You probably can't see it. We'll get the camera over to it in a second. We're just going to also cook those. You see it? All right. So our onion is browning. I'm going to throw my peppers in here. So that's sweet peppers. And remember guys, peppers are jammed with which is really good when it comes to heart disease. Vitamin C is also very good. So look at all those beautiful colors. Remember, we want to eat the rainbow, right? So Marlene, you can check my website. I don't have an address on there, but email me and I'll let you know how you can do something to me. Okay, Mauve. Alright guys, so right now we're just cooking up. Let me know where you guys are coming in from as you come on in. We're cooking up. I wish you guys could smell this. Oh my goodness. It smells absolutely delicious. Alright, so we've got, I'm going to cover up that for a little bit, give it a chance to do its thing, and turn this up just a little bit too because we don't have that much time here. Thank God I cooked the mushroom earlier. So guys, quick story. A couple of years ago, I went to the doctor. They found a lump in my breast, and it was kind of a scare, to say the least. I didn't even tell some of my family members because I knew it would scare them. Anyway, we prayed and all of that, and it was probably a year into when I had started doing my vegan diet. and I continue to do my vegan diet. And as I continue to do my vegan diet, I went back to the doctor like about a year later, and what I had been eating a lot of was mushrooms. Now, plant-based diet, you're eating plants. I was eating a lot of raw foods and all of that. Now, the lump was there, and it was not cancerous, right? But the fact that there was a lump there, it bothered me. They had to peg it. So for anybody who's ever had a biopsy done, they peg your breast, the lump, and you have to get a mammogram, and it's painful, and it's awful. But anyway, the point is, like a year later, I went back, or I had to go back 6 months. And I remember going back after 6 months after that, the technician was checking around, and she was like, okay, you have to wait here. Now I'm thinking something bad, right? Anyway, the doctor comes in the room. He's now checking. Come to find out, they couldn't find it. They were looking in my armpits. They were looking everywhere. They were searching, and they couldn't find it. It shrank so much to the point where the doctor turned to me, and he's like, what have you been doing? And I said, well, the only thing that I've done, I haven't seen another doctor or anything. The only thing that I've done is to eat plant-based. That's the only major change that I had really made that was really sustained over a period of time, right? So mushroom is great for breast health, guys, ladies and gentlemen that are watching. Mushrooms is great. Plant-based diet is really, really good. All right, so now I'm going to put the rest of these ingredients. Let's just get them over here. Alright. So guys, mushrooms, my favorite. That's why I love them. I eat them all the time. At least 2 to 3 times a week I'm eating mushrooms. That's like our meat this evening, is the mushroom, right? Alright, so when it comes to this, you put a little bit of olive oil in the beginning. I'm sorry, whatever oil, avocado oil or olive oil, but now, as you're going, right, you notice that you might need a little bit more oil. You don't actually use oil. You could take a little bit of the hot water from your pasta and just put it on there, right? And again, when you're thinking about heart disease, you don't want to have too much fat, right? You don't want to have too much oil, so that's going to help with reducing the amount of oil that you're using, all right? So now let's go ahead and add all these other things. So we're going to add our kale. Now, kale I usually eat raw, but every now and then I throw a little bit of it in my pasta. I'm a little wild here with this thing. All right, so I throw my kale in there. Next, I'm going to put my olives in there. Okay, so now once the onion and stuff is cooked, once the onion and peppers are cooked, you just have to dump all your other ingredients in there. I'm going to leave this big one out because I'm going to probably just eat that later. And there goes your sun-dried tomatoes. Okay, just a little bit in. All right. Okay, that's a nice colorful vegetables for your pasta. Now I'm going to throw my tomatoes in because I like my tomatoes. I don't want them to be overcooked, right? Okay, so guys, now this is not the brand I usually get, but Goya is fine. Capers. I'm not going to put a lot of salt in this because capers have a lot of salt, but this is another great thing for you to add to your pasta. That's going to give it a nice flavor. Okay, so it's a little bit salty. Let's throw a little bit more water in this. Once again, guys, we're trying not to use too much oil, right? So we use water instead of the oil. You start with a little bit of oil to brown the onions, but you can continue to cook it with water. All right, so now we're almost at the end. We are going to put on our capers in there. So for this, I'm going to put about, and a little bit of the water can get in, is fine. Okay, So you put your capers in. That's good, about 4 teaspoons. And then we're gonna put in our mushroom, already cooked, all right? And that took me about 15 minutes to cook. That's why I did it beforehand. Basically, all I use for my mushroom, I just saute garlic, onion, and I dump the portobellos in there. And this is the one I use, just portobello mushrooms, okay? And so that's what's in here. We got all portobello mushrooms. We've got, let me just make sure, I gotta check on my pasta. So this is your basic vegetarian pasta dish with all your nutrients in here, okay? Okay, you don't have to add any sauce to this. All right, let's just let that cook for a second. All right, I am gonna put a little bit of black pepper on there. But everything you need is already in there. All the garlic and all of that is going to help with the spice. I am going to put just a very small amount of salt. It's soaked in salt. But I just added just a little bit more just to bring out the flavor. All right. So that's really the end of this. We're going to check to make sure our pasta is cooked. We have a few minutes left. I like my pasta al dente, which means not too overcooked, right? So I'm gonna check that real quick. I think that might be, should have not taken that long. I don't know why it looks like it's not. Let's check that out. Oh, that's actually good. Whew. Yeah, it cut easy. That's what you do. It cut easy. It's good. All right, so we're gonna leave this on. I'm gonna cover this up for us for a second. Okay, let us strain this pasta real quick. Now the sink is kind of full. All right. So let's get this done real quick. So I'm going to strain my pasta. Let's turn that off. And now in the bottom of this pot, I'm going to pour just a little bit of sauce. Let's get back here. We're going to pour just a little bit of sauce, right? Not too much. And I measured this out before to make sure it's not going to be too much sauce. So I just warmed the sauce up just for a few minutes, not even, with my pasta inside. So I just dumped that back into the pot. And I just stir that around. So I just coat the pasta with a little bit of sauce, okay? We have 1 minute, so I'm gonna plate. All right, so let me bring everything over. I'm gonna plate everything right here so you guys could see, and then we're gonna say goodnight. All right, so this is nice. This is ready. Yes, lots of nutrients right here, guys. All right, so let's plate this pasta and sign out. So here is our bowl. We're gonna put a decent amount. Again, it's whole grain. You also have brown rice pasta. Okay, and then we're gonna put a handsome amount of our veggies on top. Okay. I don't know if I'll be able to even taste it tonight because it is going to be so hot. All right. So this is our plate, guys. We are done. Look at that. This is a healthy dish of veggie pasta. I'm gonna try to taste some real quick, and then we gotta sign out because it's 7 o'clock. Didn't think we were gonna be on this long. Pray I don't burn myself, guys. All right, so here we go. So we got kale, a little tomato. Okay, so you know and the food is good. You dance a little bit, right? Maybe it's just me. All right, guys, and we have our peppers here, which is like a little snack while you eat. It's absolutely delicious. I've been eating the whole grain pasta for a while. I don't miss the white pasta. It's so much better for you, the whole grain pasta. This is delicious. This is absolutely delicious. Thank you all for being here, guys. Share this with everyone that you know. Share it on your page. Remember, like my Temple Wellness, which is my company. Follow me. Do all those things, guys. And more importantly, just share this with people, because the information I provided is very useful. And if you need to reach out to me, please just go to my website, mytemplewellness.com, and shoot me an email. I'll respond. All right. We got to go. It's 7:01. I don't want Jamaicans.com mad at me. So love you guys. Thank you for being here. Pauline, Yvonne, Anthony, Marlene, Jackie, Tamika, Grace. I saw she was on. Gwendolyn. Love you guys. 7 o'clock. Love y'all. I'm signing out. Thank you, Jamaicans.com. Hit the finish button.